and that included less slave mortality. Now, I've already talked about slaves were critical to develop the sugar industry of the Caribbean islands, and former slaves remain the dominant population there. I've already talked about that. Slavery was crucial to the development of tobacco and cotton plantations in what is now the south of the USA, and slaves lived longer and bred more outside Brazil than in Brazil. And part of that because of where Brazil is. It's right astride the equator, which means because the weather's warmer there, it's more prone to diseases, and also because of the management of the Portuguese, which wasn't all that good compared to, say, the French and the British. Slavery came to a violent end. First of all, there was the problem of the incompatibility of slavery with the ideas of the French and American revolutions. Now, the American Revolution is 1776, and the French Revolution is 1789. Now, these revolutions were based on the principles of the rights of man, the equality of all humanity, the rights of man and citizen. Now, you might be rather surprised that the United States, despite the very fine words of the Declaration of Independence, which state that, that they hold as self-evident that all men are created equal and have a right to life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness. How did they justify that with slavery? Well, it was a practical compromise. Basically, the southern states or southern colonies wouldn't come into the United States unless they were allowed to keep slavery. And the subsequent history of all this in the 19th century get into racial theory, which didn't exist until the 19th century. The idea that some races are inferior to others. But racial theory was used to justify it in the 19th century. But it was fundamentally incompatible. The French Revolution spread these ideas to the French colonies, the sugar islands of the Caribbean. And between 1791 and 1802, Toussaint Louverture, who was a former slave, set himself up as a little Napoleon and established the first black American republic. There he is. So that's Toussaint Louverture, the leader of the first slave rebellion. He was crushed. In the view of the French, liberty, equality and fraternity were not commodities for export. Right? They were commodities for France, but they weren't to be exported to the colonies. You all know how slavery ended in the United States, so I won't talk about that further.